Okay, so let's get started. Welcome to Café Bluebeam, a six-part mini-series on digital plan review. So Bluebeam is a software designed to streamline your digital workflows, allowing you to publish, markup, and share PDF documents. So we want clients to take a quick break from work with a cup of coffee and learn about Bluebeam during each session. So my name is Jerica, and I'm the industry account manager at SolidCAD, located in BC, and I handle training requests for Bluebeam. So for our sessions, we've invited Derek Ng, a coffee expert, to join us by sharing information on how to roast coffee at the beginning of each session. The coffee portion will be around 5 to 6 minutes, and then our technical consultant will dive into Bluebeam afterwards. So a quick thanks to everyone who has joined us for the previous sessions. I hope you did take away some new information from this series. So June 30th, which is today, is our last session of the series, and it will be on Bluebeam Studio. So in case a 30-minute session on Bluebeam isn't enough to solve your day-to-day challenges, SolidCAD offers fundamental courses for Bluebeam, and we also offer custom/private courses as well, so you can focus on specific areas and topics like markup lists, quantity takeoffs, or like workflow issues. And just like how people enjoy their coffee differently with different caffeine or sweetness preference, we want to make sure to customize the course by adjusting the topics to fit your needs and tastes. So reach out to us if you have any training requests for Bluebeam. And we will be giving away coffee beans to the attendees per session. The coffee beans will be shown by Derek later. We'll contact you through email if you want, so good luck to everyone. If you have any questions related to Bluebeam, please type it in the chat box. We'll try our best to answer them. So let's get started with Derek, and then Matt will jump into Bluebeam Studio.
Hi, welcome back to Café Bluebeam. This is going to be the final video of our series and also the last coffee from Library Specialty. It is the Kringa. It hails from Kenya, specifically the Kiambu region. This coffee is comprised of two varietals, the SL28 and 34. It is grown at an elevation at 1,840 meters. You'll notice that the naming schema is a little different, whereas the other ones had names. This one contains numbers. The SL in this case stands for Scott Agricultural Laboratories. And then the number is just indication of the serial number associated with the strain or the breed. Names aside, this coffee can actually be traced back to a Bourbon varietal. As far as coffees go in Kenya, the SL28 and 34 is a bit sought after by roasters and it's become some of the signature coffees being produced in Kenya. We're going to be visiting the Aeropress again. Just going back to the theme of using different techniques with the same brewing devices. In addition to using a new technique with the Aeropress, we're going to be showcasing a new filter. This looks like the standard Aeropress filter, but it's a bit different. It's named the Acer filter. It's comprised of a specialized pulp, which results in a much more even paper. It's a lot more robust than the standard one, and the pore size is much different, which results in a much more vibrant coffee. The method we're going to be using is called the inverted method, whereas normally I would pour coffee in here and brew here. I'm going to assemble the Aeropress and flip it. Then the coffee gets brewed within this chamber, and then I'm going to flip it, and then I'm going to press. To start, I'm going to put the filter in the cap, and I'm going to start by warming my Aeropress. Water in the Aeropress. I'm going to also rinse out the cap, again, just to remove the paper taste. And just to make use of the water I'm already using, I'm also going to warm up my carafe at the same time. Putting that aside. Okay, the Aeropress. I'm going to place this on my scale. Here are my coffee grounds. This recipe is going to call for 35 grams. And the recipe we're going to be using is actually from the 2017 Aeropress Championship Gold Medal winning recipe from Paulina Michka. In addition to the inverted method, this recipe is also a different style of brewing. It's called a bypass brew. So what happens is that we're going to be brewing a coffee that's going to be more like a concentrate. And afterwards, we're going to be diluting it with water to taste. That's going to be dependent on how well we extract this and this style of bean we have. Starting my timer, we're going to top off with 150 grams of water. I'm going to pour at quite a fast rate. Now I'm going to agitate this and incorporate everything. At the 30-second mark, I'm going to place the cap on. Removing it from the scale, I'm going to give it a light little press, just so all the extra air leaves the chamber. Be mindful to do this gently so that we don't overpress and push coffee out. Now, I'm going to grab my carafe or whatever I'm going to press into, and here comes the part which indicates the inverted method. Placing this on top, I'm going to now flip. Make sure to hold firm. At 1 minute and 5 seconds, on the smidge behind, we're going to gently press. And we're going to elect to press long and slow, starting at 1 minute and 5 seconds till 1 minute and 35 seconds. Here's our extracted concentrate. So 150 grams of water. It's not much, but this is where the bypass comes in. Adding more water to this recipe calls for 160 to 200 grams of water added to the concentrate. Now again, the amount of water you add can vary depending on the style of coffee and the bean itself. I'm adding 170 in this case. This gives us a taste. I'm going to swirl to incorporate. I'm going to pour this into my glass. I often find with bypass brews that we get very vibrant flavors, and then in this case, along with the filter, it's going to really bring this out. I'm expecting something quite bright. The tasting notes on this coffee are grapes, pomegranate, and sugarcane. So right away, it smells like something like fresh sugarcane. The first few sips remind me of a very dark kind of grape, almost like red grapes, almost a little raisiny as well. So very concentrated on the grape flavor. But as it goes over the tongue and starts to develop, it gets a little tart and a little tangy almost, probably where they got the pomegranate from. And then the sweetness, again, finishes like sugar. I almost want to say, with how bright this is and the tartness, this is also bringing out almost a raspberry-like quality. We've been tasting a lot of coffees together. I also want to discuss tasting temperature. Where coffee you immediately brew does taste pleasant, I usually find the sweet spot for coffee is when you let it come to temperature about 3 to 5 minutes post-brew. And that's when the flavors have really settled, and then they can really shine through in the brew. That concludes our last brew. Thanks for joining me, and thanks for watching.
Welcome to Bluebeam Studio, Episode 6. My name's Matt Kohlberg. I'll be your presenter today. Today we're going to talk about Bluebeam Studio, what problems are solved by Studio, and the two main parts of Bluebeam Studio, projects and sessions. So, what problems does Bluebeam Studio solve? Well, cloud file sharing. If you need to share project files with users internal to your office or even external, Bluebeam Studio can make this happen. It doesn't even have to be just PDF files. Bluebeam projects can store any file type. The other problem it solves is PDF collaboration. So let's assume you are working with an outside consultant and you both need to collaborate on the same PDF simultaneously. You can invite that person to a Bluebeam Studio session where you can both view and mark up and discuss the PDF simultaneously. Prior to collaborating, you first need to, well, sign up with Studio. I'm going to sign in using my Studio credentials. Once signed in, I'll just open a project I've previously created. Essentially, treat your Bluebeam project pretty much the way you would treat a local folder on your server, your T drive, for example. The same folder structure that you're used to, the same file structure you're used to. And then just start uploading files. Here I have some PDFs uploaded, but I also have JPEG uploaded as well. Like I said earlier, you can upload any file type to a Bluebeam project. Once you have your project set up, and now it's time to invite collaborators. You can invite people internal to your company or external. Let's say internal people, you want to be able to open files, edit files, do whatever. But external collaborators, you want to limit their permissions. You definitely can. Opening the project sessions, I can control user access and permissions and even folder permissions. I can allow users all access, or I can deny them all access, or anywhere in between. Then you can create groups of people for invitation. For example, I have created this group called outside users, and I've denied them full control. Basically, I want to give them read-only access. Now it's time to start working with your files. I'm going to double-click this PDF to open it. You'll notice when I double-click the file, it does open it, but it's in a locked state. All right, so there's a difference between open and check out. Double-clicking a file opens it in a locked state. You're not able to save. Like lots of document management software out there, Bluebeam Revu is no exception with its projects. In order to open a document so I can actually make changes and save it, I must check it out. Like a library, checking in, checking out. When I check a file out, it'll open on my system, and it will be locked for editing for all other collaborators. Now notice, I've checked the file out, but it's not open yet. I still do have to indeed open it. Now that it's been checked out and opened, it is no longer in a locked state. I can make changes, save it back to Studio Projects, and then I can check it back in. Checking back in allows other users then to be able to check it out themselves and make their own changes. There we go. I've saved the file. I'm closing it. And now it's asking me, do I want to actually check it in? Do I want to enter some comments about the changes I've made? No, comments, but I will choose to check it in. Now, what if you're going to take your laptop off-site and you don't have access to the internet, and you still want to be able to work with these files? Well, now you have to tell the software you're going to be working offline. For the files and folders that you're going to use while you're away, you can choose to set up a sync, essentially. Right, so right now, that folder and those two files are set up to be able to work offline. I need to check the files out. Then I need to tell the software that indeed I'm going to work offline. Later, when I come back into the office, I can check those files back in and begin working online. Now let's talk about sessions, the way you can simultaneously collaborate on a single PDF with another user. You're going to see two boxes in Bluebeam Studio. The left one is projects, the right one is sessions. I need to create a session and add files and invite collaborators first. So I'll create a brand new session. I'll choose to add a file. Then at the bottom, I make choices as to what permissions my recipients are going to have, whether or not I want to restrict attendees, or maybe I want to expire the session at a particular date and time. Now, I'm going to choose not to restrict attendees by email address because I just want to send them the session number and just have them log in themselves. However, this is a nice security feature. If I had that toggled, only those recipients whose emails match those I've specified in my session will be allowed in. The session's been created. There's a number. The file's been uploaded. There's the file. And now it's my turn to decide who I want to invite. Enter their emails, add them from a previously created group, or use my address book. I'm not going to invite anybody just now. Here I'll open the file and start marking it up. I'll open up the markups list. There's a callout. And here's a text box. Essentially, I can just wait for other collaborators to log in and begin marking the file up themselves. I can see another user log in. Name is Kohlberg Home. I can see they've opened the file. When I scroll down into the record area, I can see that they've signed in here as well. I can see they've added their own callout. And their own text box. Note it shows up both in the drawing window and in the markups list. We are indeed collaborating on this file simultaneously. An interesting feature is I can follow the attendee. When I follow that attendee, first we see a four-sided triangle in the middle of the screen. That's their cursor. So when they add a new callout, we can see their cursor moving. When they switch to a different page, or when they change zoom level, we can see that happening as well. You could use this in a collaborative effort. Maybe the host would drive the session, and the attendees would follow them. Whenever the page changed, whenever the zoom level is changed, all the attendees could follow the host. In the record section, you can see all of the markups and edits, or whatever any of the other collaborators did. There, Kohlberg Home has left the session, or well, they're offline. The other collaborator didn't choose to do this, but they could have definitely set their status, maybe to finished. When they've completed marking of the file, you can set your status to finished, and that might tell the host that maybe it's time to end the session. Now, when it's time, I can leave the session, meaning my intent is to come back and make further edits later, or I can finish the session, which is what I'm going to do right now. What's going to happen is it'll download the file from the cloud. I'll just put it in my local temp folder. but I have choices. And then I can generate a report. I'm going to choose a PDF package report. It's this pretty small report, but you'll see the benefit of using it. So I'm finishing the session. Once I click OK, no collaborator is going to be able to rejoin the session. The file will be removed from the cloud and then, because I've chose to, copied to my temp folder. I now have two files that I'm looking at. This one is simply the file that we've just collaborated upon, including all of the markups. And the other is the PDF package report. It's just a PDF file, but this one has a couple links in it. So the documents link brings me to this, essentially what is a web page, where I can open the PDF file that was collaborated on, the same one we saw. The other file is the report that simply shows us who logged in and when and what kind of edits they made. And that's essentially Bluebeam Studio sessions.
So yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to type in the chat box. We'll be here for around a minute or so. So thanks for everyone for attending Café Bluebeam. We will be sending you a thank you email to all the attendees along with a link to the recordings of the Café Bluebeam sessions. We'll also reach out to the two winners that will be drawn afterwards for the coffee beans. And I hope everyone learned a new method to roast coffee and also take away some valuable information for Bluebeam from our sessions. So really hope you guys enjoy the series, and we hope to plan more events in the future. So follow us on our social medias to get the latest information on our upcoming webinars or events. Yeah, thank you for attending once again, and have a great CAD day tomorrow, guys.